we have news to get to today. Canada have announced their squad for the upcoming Nations League Finals up against Mexico next week, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, a final against either the States or Panama. So the 23-man squad has been announced, just dropped now. And no, I wouldn't say there's any surprises because we anticipated the two names that probably stand out here. And that is an official call-up for Promise David of Royal Union Saint-Legeois or Gilloise, and Daniel Jebbison. I know, Dubs, I screwed it up. Daniel Jebbison from Bournemouth.
You did that better.
Yeah, I could do Bournemouth. Crazy enough. Apart from that, Jacob Schafferberg, he's in there. He's been hurt to start the MLS season. Richard Araya makes the cut. We were concerned about his injury as well. Looking through it here. No, Tajon's back in the squad. Mathieu Chouanier is in there despite, I think, just one bench appearance since December, I believe, for Grasshopper due to injury. So some question marks for sure, but a pretty tidy 23. Jimmy, talk me through the strikers. David, Laren, Oluwase, Promise David, and Dan Jebbison. Who are you most excited to see play?
I think it's probably Daniel Jebbison for me. I want to see him play. There's a lot of hype about him. We know he's quick, powerful. He's got good height. What is he, 6'3"? And I just think, look, if you're looking at these matches that are coming up, I think they're going to go with David and Laren. But I like the power that we have coming off the bench. And I expect them at some point to get a few minutes, especially come towards the end of the game. Obviously, the games dictate who you're going to bring on. But it'd be nice to see Jebbison get on the pitch. He's the one I'm looking forward to seeing.
Dubs, do you think they're going to be a little bit pressured to cap tie these guys? They've committed. I'm sure Jesse Marsch isn't concerned about them switching allegiances now. But at the same time, in a perfect world, you get to cap tie these players as well.
Yeah, that has to be the goal as well. I think part of Marsch's mandate or his goals for himself is not only to get results early, to get the team bought into the philosophy of play. They've done that. I feel like they've assumed this identity seamlessly and they've matched it with the results. But I mean, this has to be kind of, if that was 1A, this is 1B, is players who are like dual nationals and sort of tantalizing ones at that, where you can immediately make your forward depth more robust. I mean, this is it. So and again, for his goals for the tournament, for Nations League Finals, it's to beat Mexico. It's to get to the final, be it USA or Panama that they'd face, but it's doing it and being able to do both things. So can you give these players minutes? I think the way, and like looking back at Josh Cloke's article in The Athletic, when they were both of them, Promise David and Dan Jebbison, signed their one-time transfer fee with FIFA. So it wasn't only like verbal agreement or yes, I would like to play for Canada. It was like actually filing the paperwork to doing it, like making it official. It was the way that he did it. And like, so Canada wants to play this aggressive, relentless, dynamic style of play. And it was reading about Jesse Marsch and his sales pitch and how he got Jebbison to commit. And it was showing Canada doing those things and doing it successfully, but then showing Jebbison, like reminding him that his strengths are also Canada's strengths and how he will fit in there. And I think he can have an instant impact.
And Jesse Marsch spoke very highly of these guys as well. We had a little chat with him there last week, I guess. And he's as excited as we are really about these additions to the attacking part of the squad.
Is it essentially, Craig, they're fighting for Kyle Laren's spot? John Davis going nowhere. If there's a spot to fight for, it has to be who's partnering JD up top there. Kyle's done a great job. He's not having a prolific season at Milwaukee. He's okay. Whereas, Jebbison and David in particular are both playing well. I mean, listen, Jebbison's not playing that much the last number of weeks, to be honest with you. But Promise David just keeps on scoring. I know it's Belgium, but there's some pretty good players in Belgium. There's a good league. And this guy isn't a flash in the pan this season. He's been prolific.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's what would be somebody that partners David. But then saying that, you got to prepare for the potential that Jonathan David isn't fit at that particular moment when you want him in Nations League, or, well, it looks like he's going to be okay for that, but the World Cup. So I think the options that Jesse has, that really does put him in a good position in the future with these two guys.
Yeah, I think it allows you to change your tactics and play a different style as well when needed. You got two big bodies with Jebbison and Promise David. I mean, Promise David is 6'5". He's an absolute handful. And same with Jebbison. He's quick. You can get him behind. And even if you wanted to go with two big strikers up top, and again, it depends what the game's going to dictate to you. If you have to change your tactics, or maybe you have to bring in the big bodies to get balls into the box because you're chasing the game. But I just think it allows you to change things up a little bit when you have different dynamics on the bench.
Hey, Dubs, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and what it allows, like we've seen Jonathan David, I think that this team needs to score more goals. So this increased depth at the forward position will hopefully allow them to do that. And then the big bodies at 6'4" and 6'3" with Promise David and Jebbison respectively allows you to have consistent threat on these set pieces where you're getting the service. But I think it's capitalizing on what Jonathan David has been able to do through 13 games in a Jesse Marsch era, right? It's his goal involvements. Hasn't scored as much, and even Canada only scoring 12 goals in those 13 matches, and 4 of those being against Suriname, and 4 others against only 4 against non-CONCACAF opponents. They need to do more. And with an eye on 2026 to get out of a group, hopefully you get a weaker opponent in there with the pool and the field increased to 48. But they're going to have to score more. But I think for me, it's looking at, as Jimmy's saying, it allows you to be a little bit more flexible, have more variety in the way that you're putting the system into place and the way that you're executing it. But it's about creating space for Jonathan David. So, I mean, if a big body like Promise David, his willingness to take on defenders and backing them off, creating those pockets of space for Jonathan David to operate. He's one of the most clever players, smartest player that Jesse Marsch has ever coached. We've heard that repeated now, but it's about getting results off of that and putting a player like him into situations where he's going to be able to convert on the opportunities that maybe these bigger bodies up front are going to create for him, because he's going to have more space to kind of operate.
Yeah. I know we talk about goals, and when you look at it, I mean, Kyle Larin and Jonathan David collectively have 60 goals between them, which is unbelievable in international football. And yeah, we rely heavily on them, but that's also where other players have got to chip in. You can't just rely solely on those two to win your games. There's going to be other times where your wide players or deep, your attacking midfielders have got to step in and chip in. So I think others have got to chip in and do a little bit extra to help get on the score sheet as well.
And I think regardless of the faces, they just have to be more clinical.
Yeah.
Because across all of those games, they have proven that they can get results against top teams, when their backs are against the wall and they have to deliver, even if it's against a weaker opponent, such as Suriname. But I think you could put together a pretty robust highlight reel where they've missed sitters. They've missed opportunities to put teams on their heels because they haven't been clinical enough. So it's about increasing that depth at the forward position. But when you have those faces, as you're saying, Jimmy, whether it's the number 9 position or Jonathan David, whoever's playing kind of slightly off that 9, or a Tejan or a Schaffelberg, whoever's on that front line, is anybody who's in the box. Can Canada be more dangerous when they're given those opportunities?
As football fans, though, we love nice, new, shiny things, right? And we're going to look at Promise David and Dan Jebbison as being, wow, these guys, watch out, world. Look who's just arrived on our doorstep. And I think we've got to take a bit of a breath here, all right, and realize that they might well become fantastic players, but pretty unproven at this point. Jebbison coming off a pretty bad loan spell at Watford. He's now fought his way into the Bournemouth squad, and good for him. It's fantastic. And all the attributes you mentioned, absolutely true. What these guys bring. But I think, Craig, it's easy to disrespect Kyle Larin and what he brings to this team sometimes. And that when the goals don't come, it doesn't mean he's having a bad game. He does a lot of the work for Jesse Marsch that allows John David and some of those other players to find their space. So I think a lot of people, I'm just reading, various silly forums and, social media, they're dismissing Carl Aaron, saying, wow, now we've got the replacement. Let's just put the brakes on, I think. Does that seem fair to you?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, Laren has done a very good job with Canada. Yeah, he could have scored some more goals potentially and contribute a little bit better. But I think the big thing is competition for spots. That it's not a guarantee for him, So everybody's got to play their very best, and the opportunities are there. And it's a lifetime between now and the World Cup, and opportunities will come. And who's going to grab those chances and be the one that Jesse Marsch picks?
Well, I mean, I think it's a little. We look at the squad now, and no one really stands out. But Jason Russell-Rose had a really good start to the season in MLS, like a really good start to the season, playing on a very good team up top, scoring goals. He misses out, a guy with some experience with this squad. Dubs. So I mean, we talk about competition for places. We're seeing that. That's a quality player who can't get into this squad at the expense of a couple of guys who, like I said, still kind of need to prove themselves.
Yeah, and Theo Bair as well is another name that you could say is a casualty of kind of this renewed and increased depth at the center forward position. But that just makes this team better, right? That we saw it in the names that were mentioned as part of that expanded 60-man kind of roster that was released a few weeks ago. You see players who are being discovered and being scouted, and what that does to push the level, to push the standards. And to go back to Laren, I agree with you, and I agree with what Forrest is saying, is I don't know if Laren's given enough credit. Like, sure, he's not been maybe as prolific as we would have liked, but the way that he's refined his game and that he leads the line when he's playing in terms of the nuances and the sophisticated way that he's able to press. Like, that's a way that he has raised and elevated his game since Marsch has taken over. Like, he's subscribed, but he's also changed his game and adapted so that when he's the trigger, when he's leading the charge there for that press, he's doing so in a way that makes it easier for his teammates. So his leadership, I don't think either can be discounted in what he offers his team.
Well, he's part of the leadership group, isn't he? The committee.
The council. The council.
It's a council. Damn it.
The council.
That's very Hogwarts.
He also,
I wanted to, for people who are still new to this, I just wanted to, for me, I needed to look it up just so everyone knows, but I need to look up what cap tied actually, the full definition
everyone
of that.
knows. Everyone knows.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
It's in general, a player is cap tied once they have played in an official competition for the senior national team. There you go.
Yeah, in fairness, you're right. I mean, I'm being unfairly facetious.
Being a dick? Yes.
I am. Yeah,
dickish.
In fairness, it's changed so much the last number of years, like how you are a full international. Who the hell knows? So thank you, actually, Wonga. And I apologize for being a dick.
It's okay. We're used to it. There's been a lot of that dickishness on the dark web. And Dubs and I have called it out.
You can call me a dick.
Are you opening a website that we don't know about?
Steady on.
My son Jack was cap tied when he was younger, and he had to have his frenulum. Oh no, sorry, that was tongue tied. My mistake. Sorry about that.
I got my tooth capped. Toothed. Also, sorry, Carl Allen, this is important. He actually introduced me during the World Cup to Osmos.
Oh, that's right. The commercial.
And I love those freaking things now. Oh my God, they're so delicious.
They actually have a pretty good commercial that's been running lately where the guy's putting the sauce on everything.
And then he dances?
Yes.
That one? I watched that one. That was good. Hawks are going to join that cast.
Osmos and tahinis. Have you had tahinis as well?
Oh, yep.
We have both in Fort Erie, and that's like our like international food scene. And I'll tell you, it's a battle between the two, but I think the hot sauce at Osmos has the upper hand, but tahini's, their garlic sauce, woo, take me back, baby.
Yeah, it is nice, isn't it? In fact, I'd say that the shawarma is actually pushing my love for burritos at this point.
Oh,
and I love a burrito. But at this point, if here's $15, because that's what they freaking cost nowadays. Here's $15. You get yourself a burrito or a shawarma. I might be going shawarma.
Yeah, I'm shawarma all day.
Really? Have
All
you
day
always
long.
been, Jimmy, or is this new?
Yeah. No, always.
Really?
Always.
I
like-
think for me as well, a falafel pita, which would be like the vegan alternative to like a
The boring
shawarma.
version, yeah.
But you get stop it. But you get like the pickled turnip, and sometimes they put actual
Yeah.
pickles in it, and the tahini, and I get the hummus. I don't get the garlic sauce, but like all of that stuff is like in my top 3 probably favorite.
Why
things.
no garlic sauce? Because the egg? Is that why?
Well, some places, if they're like, and this is not like an indictment of the places that we're talking about, but certain places it's just oil and garlic, and then it's like whizzed up, and that's your garlic sauce. But other places kind of pat it with mayo, so I can't always be sure that it's vegan.
Right.
So
cut
I
it with
just
mayo.
go, yeah,
It's cut with mayo
yeah.
to get more out of it.
And actually, I had like a vegan one the other day. It was like a vegan, almost like a mushroom base. It was really good. It was like kind of the faux shawarma, and it had like a vegan sauce. And the guy looks at me and he's like, "The sauce?" I'm like, "Yes, please." I'm like, "But it's vegan, right?" And he's like, "Cream." And I'm like real cream, like dairy? And he's like, "Cream." And I'm like, "I'll just have the hummus. Thank you."
Yeah, you know, Jimmy, shawarma, though, I guess you're into it. I bet you got into it in England, didn't you?
No, it was here.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
'Cause they're huge in England, way before burritos.
Oh yeah, massive
Nice
in England.
Dirty shawarma after a few pints. Oh, yeah.
The end of the
Kebab?
night. Oof. Do you know my favorite though? At the end of the night was a baked potato. They'd have those big baked potatoes, cut them
Jacket.
open, beans,
Jacket
cheese,
potato,
coleslaw. Oh, it's the best.
Oh, I
But
never
wait,
heard
you
of
can
that. I
get
know.
those
I
that-
remember they had baked potatoes, fast food wise, at Wendy's, and you could get like broccoli and put on it and some cheese. But they did baked potatoes like at the end of the night at a pub or a
No,
bar.
not in the pub. They'd have little
Okay.
shops that you go in, little
Oh.
potato shops. And they're
Jacket
huge,
potato.
big potatoes, and you get anything you wanted on it. It was delicious.
What
know
Jimmy's
what,
not
yeah.
telling us though is he was just like stumbling into people's kitchens.
Yeah, trying
It's so
back
nice of
doors.
you. I love your baked potatoes.
Some old lady comes downstairs and you're making yourself a jacket potato in the microwave.
It's a lot of potatoes.
Wow, nice potatoes.
Your whole building smells like potatoes.
Yeah.
And cabbage. It's odd. But no, you know, a baked potato. I'm having a bit of a business moment here, a eureka moment, perhaps. Do pies, right? Sharman's proper. Why not add baked potatoes to the menu? Bring
Yeah.
that to Canadian audiences.
There you go. I'll have 15
Only at
points
your-
on that, please.
At your service counter or
Yeah,
like
yeah,
okay.
like hot. Oh, although I bet you can freeze them.
As opposed to the cold baked potato.
No, but you can
Not
eat
nearly
those.
as popular.
You can freeze a dressed baked potato, I bet you, because you can buy those ones at Costco, and they've got like bacon and cheese, and they're kind of cut, and they're
Yep.
frozen, and they come out great.
Twice baked. You
Twice
take
baked.
you take the inside out, you whip it all up with all your ingredients, you gun it back
Yeah.
in, and then you freeze
Then-
it.
Get it.
Delish.
You know what? To hell with pies. Potatoes much cheaper.
Much cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'll have a chat with the missus after this. Let her know what we're doing.
You're inspired, aren't you?
I think we could do well with that, Sharms.
Oh, you think so too, Jimmy? Yeah.
Jimmy's in.
How about you get a fucking light for your studio first, and then we'll talk about business plans.
After a couple of pints, Jimmy's just gonna wander into the kitchen at Sharman's proper and be like, "Jimmy, what are you doing here?"
Oh, you don't know I'm enough owner now.
Yeah.
You didn't hear?
The potatoes.
Hey, if you want to invest, like, please.
I came up with the potato
I
on
have a
the
bag of
menu.
spuds upstairs, Sharms. I'm in.
You have what?
A bag of spuds upstairs.
Have you? Oh, well, let's start experimenting in the test quick kitchen.
Yeah.
In your kitchen, that is. Back to football. See, Carl Laren took us. He took us all the way to baked potatoes
So good.
because of Osmos.
That's what a good
Osmos?
center forward
Osmos.
does.
Yeah, exactly.
You
He's
create
first up.
space for other players, right? For other
Yeah.
conversations.
For other
He does.
potatoes.
You don't get many potatoes nowadays in football, do you? They're all like chiseled out.
No. What do you call a group of potatoes?
Spuds.
A sack.
Starch.
It's a sack. It's a sack. of
Starch
potatoes.
me up. Nah, nah, nah.
Back to this discussion though. So Jimmy, you often talk about Canada's their big need is kind of that creative number 10 type, right?
Yeah.
Like they sit behind the front two. Do you see a scenario where that's John David and that you have a couple of big boys up top?
I could see that. Yeah. I mean, look, John David's so clever, isn't he? He loves to drop. He gets in these little pockets, plays between the lines, can play on shoulders. He's such an intelligent player. And I think sometimes when you do have a big striker up top, then they can work the back line, and that creates more space for Jonathan David to drop into those spaces. And when he does drop in, then that allows your midfielders to get beyond and go support the strikers. So I think, look, with Jesse Marsch, we know he's a clever coach. He's got so many options right now, and it's going to be the strikers that are going to play a huge role in the way that they're going to play. Obviously, first with the press, and then in possession. You know, what are their movements? How are they going to link up? How are they going to create space? And I think he's in a good spot right now with the players he's brought in, because he's, like I said, he's got plenty of options, and he can just tinker a few things tactically to make it work for everyone.
Plenty of pace too.
Oh, bags of pace. They're going to be the fastest team in the World Cup, by the way, and in this Concacaf Nations, and in the Gold Cup. The pace on this team is ridiculous. It's scary, actually. Very, very scary.
Let's hope so. And that's the way they play, right? And hopefully it'll work well against Mexico, who, by the way, Mexico they're not as bad as people think. I've got a bit of a fear for Mexico right now. That maybe that corner's being turned a little bit. But we'll wait and see. Let's go to the goalkeepers, Craig. The usuals are there. Dane Sinclair, Max Crepeau is back in there, despite being injured recently. And Tom McGill, he slips in as the number 3. The talk is that Dane's got the gloves at this point. That he's got the trust of Jesse Marsch. He played the Suriname game. He even played the first game, right? I actually did an article on Sportsnet talking to our boy Nate Ingham about this. And also Paul Dolan is going to, next week's column, I think.
You also used
some great insight.
You also used zeitgeist in your first 2 sentences.
I was testing you.
You hypocrite.
If anyone's going to read it, and if it's going to be Dubs, she'll call me out on that. So
Dubs, do you feel used a little bit for his lexicon on Sportsnet?
It was a snare, a trap for Dubs. A Dubs
credit
snare.
given. Shout out to Kerry Ryan. What's that?
You want credit for a word?
I'm just busting chops. But shout out to Kerry Ryan and the Footy Prime supporters group, because they took a screen grab of that and brought it to my attention. I always read your articles, Sharms, but Kerry pointed it out very astutely.
I'm curious, Jimmy Craig, your thoughts on the article?
I thought it was very well done.
Great article.
Jimmy's like, have I mentioned how much you like potatoes?
There were words used in your article.
There were some words. But anyway, Nate and Dolly, as you'll see next week's column, were lauding the praise on Max Crepeau. And as much as Dane's a really good goalkeeper and deserving his opportunity for sure, they both really believe that Max should have the gloves. Where are you at with this, Craig? It's a good issue to have if you're Jesse Marsch, 2 good goalkeepers, right?
Yeah. Well, we got more than that too. There's plenty of goalkeepers to choose from, and that's another position where it's quite open. I think Max is probably holding on to it the way he's played with Canada. He's been excellent with the national team. He's had some injuries, obviously, but it's for him to lose, I would think. But I think from Jesse Marsch's point of view, Sinclair has got a great profile, and the size of him probably is impressive, and his profile would be that to Jesse Marsch as well.
I mean, listen, Max had the gloves at Copa. We know how good he was. As Nate said, probably the goalkeeper of the tournament. He was absolutely brilliant. But Dane did get the gloves of Suriname. And Max hasn't played much this season. So you could see Dane getting the gloves next week.
Yep.
So looking ahead to the World Cup, you still think it's Max's to lose?
I do. At this moment. But if I'm any of the other goalkeepers, I'm like, this is still wide open. If I can perform well at club level and get myself back in the national team, and there's no reason why I wouldn't be the one that would put on the gloves for the World Cup. I
Yeah,
think
do you
it's
think
still open, but I think it's Max's to lose.
Do you think it's important for a coach to decide on his number one early on so that goalkeeper knows? Or do you like it? How important is competition in the goalkeeping ranks? You know, you're a finicky bunch, our goalkeepers.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I don't know if it's that important to be able to say who's your number one. I think I like the fact that they're still battling, and their performances moving forward are going to be important. And if Max fails to do that, and then there are going to be some changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think two goalkeepers like that 1 and 2 spot and competing for the top spot, maybe alternating or based on form or past performances. Same as like in 11, you don't have to have your 11 decided in advance. You have this new depth emerging. You balance that with how you're weighing performances, right? And you have players who have performed historically really well for Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can say Crepeau fits into that. You could say Schaffelberg fits into that. He's really not had an outstanding campaign of late, like last season or beginning of the year with Nashville. Sharms, you mentioned how he's not had very much time. He's battled fitness as well. Kone, but whenever they pull on that Canadian shirt, and it's otherworldly performances. So it's how much weight are you giving to form and fitness, but then also how much credence do you give to the impact of coming into camp, being a leader, and elevating your performance every time. So as long as you can keep that going, and there's a balance of both, there's respect accorded to both. I think the players come in with a mindset that I'm going to have to compete for my spot every time. And that's the type of mindset that you want players coming into camp with, that nothing is going to be given. There's nothing that's going to be accorded to you because of your name or how many goals you've scored for your club. It's about that's going to kind of maybe skew it one way or another from Marsch's perspective, but it's really going to be ultimately his call and maybe what the opponent calls for, like what their strategy and their structure and their approach to the game dictates.
Yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, each selection, each 11 is determined by the opponents in many ways, but he goes with a variation of a 4-4-2 so far, right? It's generally speaking how he lines up, give or take. The midfield does worry me at this point. Eustachio doesn't. He walks in there, but like we said before, from Kone having a really questionable year or so, let's be honest here. Chouanier's injuries, Tejon just getting back, not getting that many minutes even now at his new club in Villarreal. Ahmed's looked really good for Vancouver. That's a nice plus, good positive there. I don't know. And Schaffelberg being hurt, that the midfield to me, that was, I thought, once a bit of a strength. At this moment in time, might be a weakness.
It could be. I think if you can point to a lack of depth anywhere, it would maybe be in the midfield. Whether you're talking sort of centrally or even players like Tejon and Ahmed on the right, and then the Adekubi injury, and that leaves you with a lack of depth on the left. And Schaffelberg, even though like when I picture this team and how they line up, I see Schaffelberg say on the left and Tejon on the right more as wingers than as midfielders, but they're classified that way as they've released this roster for the tournament. But yeah, I would like to see more of Seeger. So like when we're talking about the urgency for blooding players and recruiting dual nationals, I think that there's a real upside there to giving yourself kind of an anchor, like a pivot in that midfield where it's very much defense first. He's defensively minded, but has that kind of savviness, that creative ability where he can spray passes, in Marsch's words, like a Croatian. And Seeger was like, no, like a Canadian, like they're, and that's very much like the identity of these Canadian players is going to be the hard work, the relentless running, the pace that we talked about, which is going to be off-putting to many an opponent and intimidating when they come out there and play. But I think he has the ability from a deeper line position to be a playmaker.
Seeger is the one to watch for me in that mid for sure. I really believe that. I mean, at Hajduk Split, he's been playing mainly at right back, but I believe he played in the midfield this past weekend. So he just gets moved around a fair bit there. And yeah, no one really talks about him that much, but when he's come in for Canada, he's looked very, very good. He's a weekly starter for a very good team in a very good league in Europe. He's a little diamond in the rough there, isn't he? Actually, Jimmy, let me ask you this. So, So you have your formation you prefer to play, variations of whatever it is, 4-4-2, 4-3-3. But can that change depending on the form of your players? But if you are missing out, if your wingers aren't playing very well, or a couple of you're missing, like one good central midfielder, do you perhaps switch it up a little bit, formation, to accommodate the lack of form, or do you still stick with your principles?
Yeah, I think it's not lack of form, but it's you've got to give your players that you have the best opportunities, and sometimes you have to find a formation that suits the players. Not all players can play a certain style that you're looking to play, or a certain formation. So if you're missing those regulars and you have your style of play and your formation that you're used to, but then those players are out and you've got to use other players, well, sometimes you have to adjust a little bit your tactics to accommodate the players that are going to be playing for you on the day. That's really the gist of it.
No, it's Alphonso Davies. I mean, there's options with him. You can play him in all sorts of different places.
Did you see his goal last night?
Right. He can get forward and get in positions if you allow him that freedom. I'm not sure that Jesse would do that, but
he took him right in the face as well, and I was a bit worried for a while. They sitting down, was a bit dazed, but he came back and scored a goal for Bayern Munich yesterday. So they progressed. We are getting to Champions League. We'll have to, I suppose.
We don't have to.
No, I don't have to. We'll let these guys talk about it.
Sobbing and pouting on Sharms and Dubs right now.
Yeah.
Well, this is
I wanted to play a game before I sent you all Canada's men's roster. So we're going to play a game, and it's going to be let's set the roster. So this is what you would do, and we're all going to do it together. So we're going to start off with the keeper. Who's 11. Out of the 23 teams or 23 players, we're going to pick the roster for the Concacaf Nations League Finals.
Or the starting 11?
You mean the starting 11?
I want, yep. So keeper first. Who would you go with?
St. Clair.
I'm going St. Clair as well this week. Are you going to write these down so you get some?
I'm writing them down right now. Yeah.
Okay. So Dubs has St. Clair. I've got St. Clair. Craig?
St. Clair.
Jimmy?
St. Clair.
Should be a good content. Should be a good quiz. This should be a good game.
We're going to go the top of the. We're going with the two.
I'm going to pick.
You don't have a say.
The keeper. I don't. Come on. I know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to say that they're going to just make a move and put Kyle Laren in goal as keeper, just to switch it.
You don't have to say.
What's he doing? Okay. All right. That's my one pick. If it comes true, I win.
Okay. Two at the top. Who's
Warner, go back 4.
Okay.
Build your way up.
Okay, build from the back. Okay.
Right back.
Okay, I'm going to write this down. Okay, give me the 4.
Johnson, Cornelius, Bombito, Davies.
Johnston.
Yeah.
That's the easiest thing to pick in the entire.
Yes.
Say that again. Johnston, Bombito,
Cornelius,
David.
Yeah.
Davies.
Dave. Oh, sorry.
David would be that'd be crazier
Cornelius.
than goal.
Davies. Okay. Next 4.
Now for the tricky one. Are we going 4-4-2? So we just go 4-4-2?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Hold on. I'm going to go with Johnson, Bombito, Cornelius, and Larea.
Ooh, he's pushing Fonzie up forward. Yeah.
Okay. So would anyone? Who would we? So say it again. Johnson, Bombito, Cornelius,
and Larea.
Over Davies.
But Jimmy's pushing Davies further up the pitch.
I'm going to push him up a little bit.
Thanks, Jimmy, for making this.
Can we agree with that then?
Yes.
This is all opinion.
All right. Okay. Good.
I like that shout though by Jimmy, given the current form of Schaffelberg.
Did Craig agree with us? He did, right?
Okay. Yeah. So right now we have St. Clair, Johnston, Bombito, Cornelius, Larea. Okay. Next 4.
Davies.
Okay. Well, you picked Davies at left back though, right?
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if we were going with Jimmy's idea of pushing Fonzie.
No, isn't it just like our own opinions of who of how we want to build a team? So
yeah, but it's going to be Footy Primes. We have to agree.
Really?
I'm not writing every idea down.
But there's only going to be one or 2 players that are going to be a little bit different.
Yeah. So keep going, Jimmy. We'll see if you can sway us.
I'm going to go Davies on the left. I'm going to put Ali Ahmed on the right. I'll have Estechio with this is where I need help.
I think it's still Kone.
I'm going to go Kone.
I think Kone as well.
Kone.
I think you're going to see Seager on that right-hand side.
To start?
Yeah. That's what I want to see. And that's nothing against Ali. But you're playing Mexico, and it's going to be vociferously pro-Mexican, right? It's going to be intimidating. You're going to have a lot of the time without the ball in this game. And like Dubs was kind of breaking down Seager before, defensively, he's so responsible. That's my... But I'm not saying you guys have to go. That may not be the Footy Prime choice. But if it's me, I would go... I think Kone does start beside Eustachio. Let's see Seager getting a start on the right because he's so intriguing.
Over Ali Ahmed.
And Tajon.
And Tajon,
I don't
lack of minutes.
Yeah, 100%. Lack of minutes. I might put Ali on
I like Ahmed because of pace, and I think the Mexicans are terrified of the pace
and performance, Jimmy, and performance. Yeah,
he play left as well.
He's playing brilliant at the moment. I just think when you've got Johnson getting forward, Larea getting forward, Davies out wide, Ahmed out wide, Kone who can go box to box, and then the pace up top, it's fucking the rapid.
All right, I'm fine with that. If that's what we decide, I'm fine with Ali on the right hand side.
And then David Laren, I think, up top.
Yeah. I wonder if Promise gets in there. So hard to know
you
without.
Think to start? I don't.
Without training, it's so hard to know without them training together at all. But yeah, you're probably right. It's going to be Laren and John David. I think you're probably right. I'm just really.
That was a great little. I like that. What we just did makes me feel
Once
good.
we established the rules.
What he brought. Wow. Well, what was I going to do? Write down every idea you guys have?
Yes. Just remember this for when they're playing Thursday. Remember this for Friday's show.
This was as scattered and as ill-advised as any Google Doc that we currently have open that anyone can chip in on.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's good. That's a good way to end. I think that section on Canada's men's national team.
The only ones that, sorry, I know you wanted to end it, but I was just thinking who was injured before this? Richie Larea, Jacob Schaffelberg. Who else was coming? And Max Crapo, right? Were those the three kind of question marks? And I remember you guys were giving me the shit because Richie had told me he'd gone to get a scan, and then he didn't play against. He didn't play on the weekend with TFC, so he's coming off of a weekend. Couple of weeks where he's been off and coming in. So is this when the coach, when Jesse's choosing this, is Richie ready to play, or is this hey, I want to keep him involved?
I think this is a case where I was talking before about players who just perform when they're wearing a Canadian jersey, and Richie Larea is one of them. So that's where, okay, he hasn't played, he's got a niggle or a knock or whatever it is. He's maybe not 100%, but your full trust is in Richie Larea to perform for Canada.
If you're a club coach, are you a little bit pissed off at Canada? If you're Nashville's coach or TFC's coach, thinking, hey, guys, these guys aren't even playing right now.
Yeah, probably a little bit.
Yeah. You'd rather have them back home, right? And just doing their rehab.
But it's clubs who are clearing them to play, correct? That's what Richie told me.
Though. Yeah, but FIFA can they've got the power. FIFA have the power.
What do you mean they don't?
If you're called up by your national team for a FIFA window, the clubs officially don't have a say. Although they do, but officially they don't have a say.
Yeah. Even if they would say not cleared to play, you would still.
Hopefully it's an open discussion where like the team physio for Nashville, the medical staff is actually in conversation with Marsch and the head of medical staff for Canada. Okay. So it's a concerted effort. It's a comprehensive look at the player's health so that it benefits both parties.
But if it comes down to it, the country has the final say, I think.
Yes. You don't want to upset the clubs if you don't have to, but it happens.
And they also stand to make some money, right? If all these players qualify and they play in the World Cup, they will get remunerated by or compensated by FIFA.
Yeah, what kind of money is that? Any idea?
It's decent. I know it was for Qatar, yeah. I don't know what we're talking about really, but I remember CF Montreal sent 6 players, right? So they made a tidy little sum.
$60, I hear.
Canadian.
$7 American.
And a loaded baked potato.
Yeah.
Well, with Ozo and Larea going with Canada from TFC, it allows them to just write off Insigne's 15 million.
Done.
No problem.
Clear.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, done. Hey, quickly, Dubs, Joe Waterman getting in there again.
Yep.
Marsh loves him, eh?
Yeah. I think with good reason. I think you see, as disappointing as CF Montreal has been in the second half when they were pushing in that lackluster performance against Minnesota, he was driving the play and they were attempting to break a low block and unsuccessfully, but everything went through him. Like his ability to break lines on the dribble, on the pass, his vision. I think his pace could be questioned in a team that we've talked about is got like a really high end sort of speed, like a team full of burners. He's maybe not there. And his ability to be combative in either box and win headers and things like that could be questioned. I think other than that, his overall game is impressive.